Good evening, I'm Ryan Giulio. We are here at the Foscari Short Film Festival with Ollie Gardner, director of the Sunday Night Drinkers Club. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all I want to say that I admire the way the protagonist dealt with what was happening to their friend, and I recommend this film to everybody who's facing such a tremendous illness. So thank you for this.
Thank you.
And let's begin with the questions.
Yeah.
So in your film you use the technique of symbolism in order to approach the difficult issues that you treated. And I'm referring, for example, to the way you presented the pub as an emblem of protagonist friendship and relationship in general. So would you please highlight and analyze some of these symbols that you used?
Yeah, so we wanted to create a kind of a more theatrical setting to the pub, as opposed to like a kind of realism-esque pub. And part of that was to coincide with the physical theatre that we used in it, because it's quite experimental movement. So rather than having kind of a realistic background to like a kind of experimental movement, we kind of wanted to complement both. And also having the kind of experimental scene allowed for that kind of the black walls created the kind of like a boxed out space almost, which had like a vastness to it, as opposed to like a naturalistic setting. And it also allowed us, you know, in terms of actual like technique for like lighting wise, we could shift things around, we could film around it, and it was much more adaptable to what we needed. So that was kind of the main reasons we did it. And we kind of like played around with it at first. At first we were going to do it in an actual pub. And it just didn't seem right, didn't seem feasible. And I think the kind of unrealistic setting of it, with like hints of realism, really assisted the movement. So yeah, I think that's mainly the reason why.
Okay, so let's go with another one. So the short film is focused on non-verbal communication, of course, which will result in a very efficient way to generate empathy with the viewers. So do you think that this way of presenting emotion works even on long feature films, where the focus of the viewers needs to be constantly stimulated in order to maintain their attention?
I do. I think the movement for us, especially in this piece, it's such a hard topic to talk about. The movement lended itself to that. So when something's too hard to speak about, we found through kind of relationship, through movement, we could like say things without verbally saying them. It's kind of like the undertone of what we want to say can just be exemplified throughout. We've played around with it in like a...
Yeah, we originally had it, where there was a scene in the middle that did have dialogue in it, but it just, when we watched it back without sound, it was just so hard to get out.
I think we want to experiment with it in like a feature-long setting. I'm not sure whether it would work or not. The reason that we filmed it differently in this was that we didn't want it to be a dance piece. It wasn't filmed like dance, which is just a wide-angle shot of a dance. We wanted it to be quite immersive in that fact, where you're in the movement, and it's the acting can still be naturalistic without being dance, if you understand. So that was one thing we worked with the actors a lot. Once we had the movement, it was then putting the intention to every single movement.
I think we kind of set out realising that cancer is just a very physical sort of experience to go through. And then when we were working with the movement, just having it purely movement and without dialogue worked. It just really worked well for us.
Okay, so let's talk about you now. I know that you played Billy Elliot in the homonyms film musical, being directed by Stephen Daldry. So how this experience influenced you and your attitude toward the arts in general?
It influenced me hugely. I think obviously the obvious is like, you know, the dance background really helped. But what it did for me was, I think if anything, it just gave an insight into kind of like the professional world when I was younger, and what it takes and the commitment you have to have in order to be, you know, successful in the industry. And I think, you know, just from, this film was crowdfunded purely through like, you know, family, friends, and working title in London gave us a lot of money just from emailing them. And I think a lot of that came from the professionalism that we went into the rehearsal room, and we wanted to create something that was professional. We didn't want it to be inherently student, if you understand. So we didn't actually take anything from the uni in terms of equipment. We used their lighting and their rigs, and they were hugely helpful for that. But everything outside of that was a completely professional environment, and that was taken directly from Billy and what I've been taught. And I think with these guys, you know, from day one it was professional. It wasn't like a group of mates trying to make a film. It was like we were all setting out to have the same goal, and if you had that goal, then it's more achievable, and it's
ballet warm-ups as well.
Yeah, and obviously the movement helps. It was really situated in movement, and that wasn't, I don't think, from Billy. I don't think, because Billy is dance, and like it helped me go into the physicality of it all. But actually, I think it was more the acting side of Billy, which helped me situate it. And yeah, I mean, the thing about Billy is it's very theatrical, and this is like film, so it's completely different mediums. But it did teach me that kind of artistic eye, and being around amazing directors, you know, it rubs off. You definitely get a sense of how they work with actors, how they can pull stuff, how they can have a view and just stick with it, and just, you know. And I think the thing about Billy was it's such a creative, like a collaborative process. It's so creative, and it taught me that you have to work with everyone. And I think Jake would agree. The actors, the team were as much of the creative process as I was. It was more of like a kind of
it was more of just
a facilitator.
Yeah, I think just from our perspective, the way just all the actors balanced off Ollie, it was definitely just felt very professional. There wasn't anything about it that felt like we'd all just been shoved into a room to just put this together. It felt very sort of, it was very professional.
Okay.
So that's all. Thank you for being with us, Ollie, and I wish you the best for the competition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.